Hi, my name's Trollheart and welcome to The Couch Potato. People do all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff on YouTube. They're great composers, rappers, even film directors in the making. I can't do any of that stuff, nor would I attempt to, but what I can do is talk about my favourite TV shows. I already do this in writing on my blog, but as it's located somewhere near the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy, you're unlikely to ever encounter it. So I thought I'd give this a go, maybe reach a few more people than my lonely little blog can manage. Who's likely to watch some obscure Irishman droning on about his favourite telly shows? Meh, probably few, if any, but sure, if you're into the same sort of programmes that I am, maybe you'll stick around to see what I have to say about them. We're talking the likes of Spooks, Red Dwarf, Supernatural, Futurama, Babylon 5, The New Statesman and a whole lot more, with the odd movie thrown in for good measure, and who knows, maybe some special events too. Ever heard of the Battle of the Classic Christs? You will if you stick around. So to get things moving, I just sort of wanted to record this as an intro video. Don't be afraid to let me know how I'm doing. This is my first ever attempt at YouTubing, though I've been writing the blog for over 3 years now, so it's not like I'm going to be short of material. However, writing it is entirely different to performing it, apparently. So bear with me if this starts off a little rocky. So what exactly is the couch potato? Well, it's an umbrella term under which I'll be discussing all my favourite shows like those already mentioned and many more. Do be aware this is not a spoiler-free zone, and my reviews are not short. I go right through each episode and note all the salient points, including any outcomes, twists, shock endings, etc. So if you're still watching, haven't yet watched or intend to watch a series I feature here, be warned that these reviews could potentially spoil the series for you. Watch at your own risk. Yeah, but thousands of guys, girls and small blue furry things from Aldebaran review TV shows, I hear you sigh. What makes yours any different? Why should I waste any of my precious time checking this out? Well, to be honest, there's no real answer to that. I'm sure others did and will do better reviews than I. However, I also do dedicated sections wherein I examine anything from character profiles to plot points, or from relationships to errors made, or what I might consider to be bad writing. I am basically a sci-fi fantasy nerd, so most of the shows will be drawn from that genre. However, I do watch a lot of other stuff, everything from 24 to The West Wing and Family Guy to The Apprentice. So it's not all going to be lasers and starships in case you're not into that sort of thing, but a lot of it will be. Lasers and starships, I mean, and aliens, and probably robots. Yeah, definitely robots. All of which certainly feature in the first series I want to look at my all-time favourite science fiction TV drama, and second favourite TV drama overall, Babylon 5. Here's a not quite so brief intro into the genesis of the show before we get going. Probably the only TV drama, certainly the only science fiction TV drama, to be conceived and laid out as a 5-year story. A TV novel which was intended to span 5 full seasons of the show, and in the end did. Babylon 5 was the creation of Joe Michael Straczynski, usually known as J. Michael Straczynski, or more often just JMS. Aficionados of the programme like me, and probably millions of others as well as critics, will tell you that JMS was as instrumental to not only the creation but the development of Babylon 5 as Gene Roddenberry was to Star Trek. In fact, early in its inception, JMS was heard to remark at a science fiction convention that he believed his new series could end up giving Star Trek a run for its money, to which an unimpressed reporter quipped, "Yeah, and Bill Clinton will be in the White House." Well, we all know how that turned out, don't we? But the above serves to illustrate how tough an arena television sci-fi was in the early 90s. The Star Trek franchise had pretty much a stranglehold on TV sci-fi, while the world of cinema had not really come up with anything substantial at the time, leaving Star Wars as the main money spinner, and seen therefore as the way forward. Cinema had mostly whimsical tales like Back to the Future, Arnie and the Predator movies, E.T. and Gremlins all over the place. Of course there was Terminator 2 and Alien 3, and later on Stargate brought a measure of respectability to SF movies, but up to even the end of the 90s, the main movers in terms of sci-fi cinema were still those that trod Roddenberry's somewhat tired and hackneyed stories of all humanity living together in semi-utopian peace. It wouldn't be till really the tail end of the 90s when The Matrix burst upon our cinema screens like an avenging angel, slapped us all upside the head, that science fiction would really achieve its rebirth on the big screen. And as for the small, well, nothing could and did touch Star Trek for over 30 years, with series like Logan's Run, Lost in Space, V, and others. Though the UK did well to fly the flag, with series like Blake 7 and Doctor Who, darker, more adult sort of programmes than their mostly light, fluffy, almost comedic in way US counterparts. Sure, Doctor Who is now more aimed at a family-friendly market, but back in the 60s, 70s and 80s it was dark and disturbing for the most part, and we all hid behind the sofa when the Daleks came on screen. Exterminate! The problem was that most television networks didn't really take sci-fi seriously. It was the purview of the geek, the loner, the misfit. Families would not watch it, so any programmes commissioned, or most at any rate in the US, had to be made family-friendly by adding in cute characters or comic relief elements and having everyone back on the starbase in time for tea, as it were. Only the British ones dared to do things like kill off characters, like the aforementioned Blake 7 and indeed Space 1999, some of the darkest sci-fi you'll ever come across. Okay, so the sets were wonky and the acting wouldn't. Should that be the other way around? No. But the stories were often top-notch and occasionally the stuff of nightmares. Which is how it should have been anyway. Space is a frightening place. Films like Alien and 2001 A Space Odyssey showed us that, as did Event Horizon decades later, though that was really more a horror movie set in space. And then again, you could probably level that same charge at Alien. The happy, jolly, everyone gets along fine, whether they have legs or tentacles idea was a nice one, but ultimately fatally flawed. After all, humans can't even get along with each other without trying to blow each other up or to exterminate one another. So what makes us think we get on with the aliens? Or that they get on with us? Maybe they're the badasses of that sector of the galaxy. Either way, they're unlikely to just drop in for a cup of proto-tea and a mega biscuit now, are they? So it's Star Trek portraying its general humans are great and want to save everyone, and don't you wish you were like us, though if you're not, that's okay, because we're so tolerant of other cultures and life forms all across our TV and film screens. And movies like The Matrix, Dark City and Inception, years or even decades away. What serious science fiction was there on the box? Although Ronald D. Moore later revamped it into a tough, dark, gritty and realistic portrayal of man's struggle to survive against an implacable enemy, Battlestar Galactica in its original incarnation was little more than a shoot-'em-up adventure buddy movie in space on TV. Buck Rogers in the 25th century was much worse. And although Star Trek would grow up with the third and fourth seasons and the newly born Deep Space Nine would go on after its second season to redefine what mature, dark, intelligent televisual science fiction could and would be, the airways were jammed with half serious, half comedic, in some cases downright awful attempts at sci-fi programmes, as everyone tried to jump on the Star Wars, Star Trek bandwagon, making the fatal flaw of trying to be just like them. Straczynski, seeing all of this, did not want to go that route. He had come up watching the likes of Hill Street Blues reshape and change what was perceived as a general cop show, and he wanted to do the same for sci-fi with his own new show. This would be a heavily character-driven series, where people's decisions would weigh on future events, where one road taken might lead to war, whereas the other might lead to peace, or something as simple as a chance meeting or offhand remark might have huge ramifications down the road. Most importantly, Jameis decided to introduce, or at least expand on, the idea of a story arc. This was seen almost as television suicide by the networks, the idea that people would follow a series noting all the little clues to future events and that they would have to see almost every episode or risk missing a big piece of the puzzle, and thereby end up being confused or missing a vital point, seemed to the execs beyond the American people's capabilities. More, it was not, they believed, what the audience wanted. They didn't dedicate their lives to a TV show. They watched and flipped between channels, and a series like Star Trek or Buck Rogers could certainly be watched one week and not for the next three, and then if they liked, pick up after that without fearing they'd missed some vital developments. By and large, sci-fi shows, and this included Roddenberry's Behemoth, did not attach huge significance to events that transpired from week to week. The first to do so of that franchise was Deep Space Nine, where once it got into the main plot, there were standalone episodes, but even then something might happen in one of them that would reflect back in future ones. But the series followed a basic storyline, and like reading a novel, you couldn't just pick it up again after 3 chapters and know what was going on. Of all the series at the time on TV, sci-fi or otherwise, DS9 was the closest in terms of structure to what Babylon 5 would become. And there was some controversy surrounding both series as they hit the air around the same time. Not only that, Paramount, who produced the Star Trek franchise, had been offered a chance to back Babylon 5 but passed, and then mere months later announced the debut of their new Star Trek series. Both were set on space stations, the first time any SF TV show had been located in such a place, and both would have major galaxy-spanning wars and draw on elements of ideologies and religious themes throughout their run. Both would allow for major characters to be killed off, and of course, as already mentioned, both would follow a series arc. The similarities have been a topic of contention and hot debate between opposing fans of the series, but I'm not going to concern myself with them here, so I don't feel they're really that relevant. And so, on February 22nd, 1993, the lead-in pilot movie for the series, originally called just Babylon 5 but later changed to The Gathering, aired on Warner Brothers' PTEN channel. Although I have a personal story about that. Living as I do in Ireland, I of course have and had no access to the US networks, and happened to stumble across the movie in a video, look it up, rental shop, and thought it would look good. Taking it home and watching it, I was rapt, and I thought, my God, how can someone not make a series out of this? It seemed to be set up for at least a sequel, with its closing line, Babylon 5 is open for business, and I just thought, damn it, another great movie that could have led to a series, and left it at that. Well, I didn't. When I brought the video back, I asked the guy behind the counter if he knew if there were any more movies, or a series even, and he grunted, no doubt very interested in my query, as he carefully polished the slipcase on Vampire Serial Killer Babes 4, Fangs Baby, or some such nonsense that he didn't know. Substitute the word no for the word care, and I think we had a better and more honest answer to my question. So home I went, dejected but not surprised. Surprise was, however, to the nth degree when some months later Channel 4 announced a brilliant new science fiction series coming soon called, Babylon 5. I could not believe it and quickly set about making sure I had enough blank tapes. I said, look it up, what do you think I am? That's what Wiki is for. To ensure I recorded every episode, as through some cruel caprice of the gods, it was airing at something like 5 p.m. while I was still at work. But with a video recorder, look, I'm getting really tired of you. There was no reason I should miss a moment of what I felt sure would be my new favourite science fiction programme, as of course it proved to be. In the next video I'll be discussing that very movie, the pilot for the Babylon 5 series, The Gathering. Thanks for listening.